Nuvuk, Alaska. The Hailstone family is speeding down the river in their fishing boat. Today's mission is to head upstream in search of moose tracks. As the boat moves forward, the vegetation upstream becomes denser, but the river gradually grows shallower. Just around a bend, after passing through, the river opens up again. Fossils are scattered along the banks, which is exactly why they're here. After picking them up, the fishing boat continues on. On a sandbar, what appears to be a moose or possibly a bear comes into view. Chip steers the boat closer, and everyone disembarks. Fresh footprints are clearly visible. This is definitely a moose, not a brown bear. The family examines the tracks carefully before setting off again. Who knows, they might encounter more game. After continuing their journey, the boat moves forward. The scenery is beautiful, and the sandbar is home to many birds. The Hailstones wander along the riverbank. Though they're prepared to hunt moose in the water, no prey has been spotted yet. Moose habitats usually have water and grass, but Chip would prefer to hunt them on land. As they navigate upstream past the sandbar, they encounter a strong current. Though shallow, its force is powerful. Beyond it lies a ridge, the only high ground nearby, and a frequented spot for moose. Soon, they reach a shallow area where the boat can't proceed further. Everyone removes their boots, rolls up their pants, and wades forward. On this shoal, they work together to beach the boat before restarting it and heading toward the shore. Finally, a moose appears. Everyone scrambles in disarray. No one knows when it might vanish. Chip is the first to step ashore with his rifle, raising it quickly along the riverbank and firing. To his surprise, there are two moose. After Chip shoots, the moose immediately bolt into the river. His first few shots are intentionally off target. He's waiting for the moose to reach the bank before taking aim. After several attempts, Chip brings the boat to shore. Reality hits. He's getting older. His vision isn't as sharp as it once was, but in the end, he bags the moose. The family rushes to the prey. Its towering antlers and massive frame stand out, the fallen head held high. This is a hefty bull moose, and everyone gathers around excitedly. By sight alone, it weighs over 1,000 pounds, a true giant. Chip moves in first, slicing open the hide near the moose's legs, just like he would with a caribou. But one moose equals 5 caribou. With practiced skill, he begins butchering the animal. While Carol assists, moose are currently overpopulated here. Seasonal hunting doesn't disrupt their natural reproduction. Instead, it encourages the species' survival. They load the moose onto the boat, placing oilcloth underneath. The weight approaches 1,000 pounds. Just the tongue alone weighs 2 or 3 pounds. Chip sets aside the most delicious part, the tongue. For tonight's dinner, with a boat full of meat, anyone would be happy. Returning to camp with the moose, the Hailstones busily set to work. They sharpen their ulu knives to prepare the meat. Though hunted on the sandbar, the moose shows almost no trace of sand. The women wield their ulu knives to cut, while Chip erects a rainproof tarp over the tent to keep the drying meat dry. Chip's children have mostly left behind nomadic life. Watching them grow up, Agnes wants them to understand one thing. No matter what, they must learn to respect the land. Treating others well means respecting oneself. Tonight's dinner features the freshest moose meat, thick cuts eaten to their fill. By Agnes's usual description, it's better than cotton candy. Morning in Hoona, Alaska. This is a round log cabin made entirely from solid timber, each log weighing 1,000 pounds. Built in 1991 by Ricko's father and older brother, the cabin now shows signs of age. The bottom logs have begun to rot, warping the entire structure. Without repairs, it will be unusable in a few years. This cabin holds cherished memories for Ricko, some of the best times of his life. He feels a strong sense of responsibility to restore it. His plan: move out the furniture, repair the floor, add insulation. It's a big project, too much for one person to handle all at once, so he's taking it slow. From the family cabin to Hoona is about 100 kilometers. Ricko navigates his fishing boat through the complex waterways. First, he needs to find food, ducks, bears, whatever he can get. After all, he'll need sustenance while working on the repairs. The fishing boat moored at a high point. Ricko quickly entered the woods with his rifle in hand. It was easy to spot animal trails here. The thin black strips were otter droppings. Ricko carried 2 rifles, one specifically for black bears, the other for small game. Sure enough, a little deeper into the woods, he found clear signs of a grizzly bear, claw marks on trees where the bear had stood and bitten. Along this path, broken trees were everywhere, some snapped by moose. Approaching further, Ricko discovered an underground shelter. It was clearly left by hunters from the last century during nomadic times. The beautiful high ground also had a skin-covered house for warmth. Though he lived nearby, this was Ricko's first time finding his ancestors' campsite. Alaska was stunning, teeming with moose, ducks, muskrats, and beavers. Gazing at the high ground, Ricko could imagine his ancestors pitching tents and hunting here. There were other surprises too. The path inside was remarkably flat. Time flew to the next day. Ricko loaded the abandoned logs onto his boat, filling it quickly. Now, he was ready to return and repair the cabin, just the first step. The journey involved navigating many bends, some near sandbars where the water was shallow, risking the boat's grounding. The river stretch was about 100 kilometers long. As Ricko neared his destination, a moose appeared on the bank. He had no intention of hunting it, though just a quiet glance. It wasn't autumn, the legal hunting season, so even if it was a bull moose, he couldn't shoot it. After countless bends against the current, the water grew shallower. Ricko carefully steered toward the middle of the river to avoid getting stuck. Finally, at a shallow cove, he docked to unload the logs. The boat was too heavy to risk grounding. He tried lifting a log, but couldn't. Each solid piece weighed nearly 200 pounds. After struggling for just a dozen meters, he gave up and pushed the log forward on the ground. Beyond the small ridge, his destination was close. The cabin his father left him stood on high ground in the river, safe from floods but hard to reach by boat. It took Ricko a full day to transport all the logs, leaving him exhausted. This was only the first step in renovations. Life here was tough, but today's work was done. With an iron pot in hand, Ricko started cooking grouse for dinner. Once the cabin was repaired, there'd be more to do. Sitting on a wooden stool, he enjoyed his meal leisurely. The pile of logs was ready, but the cabin couldn't be ignored. It was Ricko's main project for the summer. Some things were too precious to waste. Growing up here without running water, Ricko had fetched water, hunted, and cooked daily. Looking back, those days felt fulfilling. But now, watching his children, he felt a sharp pang of loss, which was why he chose to spend part of each year at the camp. No matter what, Ricko would spend his remaining years here. When he grew older, he hoped to retire in this beautiful cabin. In Alaska's Bruscana, hunter Jesse shouldered a G-pound backpack and set off with his hunting dog, Neil, to pick blueberries. In a month, snow would cover these lands, and the blueberries would vanish. In Alaska, blueberries were the closest thing to fruit available in winter, like sunlight in the dark, rich in antioxidants and anti-aging properties. A diet of meat alone wasn't enough. Jesse owned this entire blueberry field and filled a basket in less than 30 minutes. He packed them into his backpack, snacking on some with his dog before shouldering his rifle and moving on. Vast Alaska had more than berries. Herbs were worth collecting too. This year, Jesse cut his long hair into a short, sharp style. After crossing a plain, he spotted the herbs he needed. White flowers with anesthetic and antibacterial properties, perfect for relieving pain in the wild. Jesse quickly set down his bag to gather them. Next on his list was wormwood, similar in effect to the earlier flowers. Jesse paused to collect some before turning back. The next day, Jesse visited his garden. The vegetables were ripe, and the soil fertile. He picked them, steamed and dried them, then vacuum-sealed them for storage in his freezer. This small garden could yield hundreds of pounds of food. Great news for Jesse, who would spend the whole winter here. Carrying a basin of vegetables, Jesse left. This self-sufficient life was his dream. He chopped the cabbage finely, boiled it until limp, drained it, and stored it for winter. In Alaska, this was essential for food preservation. Sealed bags of fresh vegetables would last half a year, plenty to see him through winter. Jesse loved growing plants. Now, he turned his blueberries into jam. Winter would be cozy, wrapped in blankets, eating bread spread with sweet sour homemade jam. The process was simple, slow cooking, letting the berries' sweetness fill the air. Jesse added sugar, tasted it, and poured it into jars when ready. These blueberries were pure, additive-free. In his backyard, thousands more pounds grew. After filling 7 jars, Jesse turned to his herbs. He added water and oil to a bucket, simmering the herbs for 6 hours until fragrant. After filtering, he mixed in beeswax for thickness. As the ointment cooled into jars, Jesse felt at peace. His large fridge held all these foods, ready for winter. Bruscana, Alaska. This is the old railroad bed, leading to the copper mine. Hunter Jesse rides his motorcycle along the cliffside riverbank. Today is a special day. He's looking for a spot to fish. With winter preparations done, it's a day off. Now is the prime time for salmon migration. While gill netting isn't allowed, rod fishing is. Following the trail, Jesse reaches a cliffside vantage point. The location is ideal. He pauses to observe. Upstream swimming salmon often rest near protruding rocks or sandbars where the current slows. Gazing at the muddy river, Jesse recalls his days in Indiana 4 years ago, when he'd catch abundant salmon, a reliable protein source. With his dip net, he descends the steep bank, risking loose rocks but making his way down. Sure enough, it's peak salmon season. Every scoop brings a catch, though this small one isn't worth keeping. Salmon come from the ocean but spawn in rivers, swimming upstream to reproduce before dying. This cycle, a marvel of nature, is why Jesse only harvests a few here and there, savoring the season's bounty. Soon, 2 silvery king salmon, each 4 or 5 pounds, land in his net. Jesse already thinks of dinner, but he's just arrived. His permit allows 25 king salmon. As long as he stays under that limit, he can keep fishing. In less than 20 minutes, he's caught 3. That's incredible. These fresh salmon mean he won't need to spend much on meat this year. He strings them together on a rope. The haul keeps coming effortlessly, leaving him momentarily flustered with his knocking stick. Excitement surges with every catch. Jesse knows he'll return to this spot for years. It's the simplest way to fish. Soon, he's gathered over 100 pounds of king salmon. A good day's work. He bags them up, eager to try again tomorrow. Carrying nearly 100 pounds of fish back up the cliff takes effort, but Jesse looks forward to returning to camp for a fresh salmon dinner. Back at camp, Jesse sets up a processing stand by the stream. The vibrant red meat glows in the sunlight. He loves fishing but enjoys the quiet moments, even more preparing this delicacy. The boneless, fat-free meat is delicious but attracts uninvited guests. Seagulls eyeing a free meal. Jesse waves them off. He'll take every scrap, even the bones, to fertilize his garden for next year's crops. Zero waste. As night falls, he lights a fire to cook his catch. The sizzling fish oil fills the air with aroma. Jesse can't wait to dig in. Every moment here is precious. Life is fragile, and he chooses to savor it. Full and satisfied, he rests up, planning to return for more fish tomorrow. The old copper railroad bed. Day 2 finds Jesse back at his fishing spot. Along the bank, remnants of human activity remain, including a 120-year-old mine tunnel, which Jesse treats as a tourist attraction. Fishing yields another effortless haul. 7 salmon in under 10 minutes. But then, a surprise. A seal emerges. Jesse stands in shock. This marine creature has swum 100 kilometers from the ocean, lured by the salmon run. The seal's presence confirms Jesse's suspicions. This spot is teeming with fish, but his limit of 25 salmon reached. It's time to leave. Contentment is key. That's Jesse's way of life. Nuvuk, Alaska. The Hailstone family dries fish meat on the tundra. Last night's high tide brought a bountiful catch. The deep red color indicates high iron content. This season on the frozen tundra is called false summer. Plenty of fish, birds, and game. With the tide up, they plan to explore upstream for berries, herbs, and fossils to turn into crafts, part of their winter preparations. Chip approaches, seeing Agnes still processing fish. The year's food stores are nearly complete, but another priority remains: firewood. Chip brings his 6-year-old grandson, White, to the fish boat. With everyone busy, he wants to teach the boy a lesson. White plops onto the motorcycle, and together with Chip, they start dragging the boat toward the water. Despite Chip's warnings to stop before the mud, the boat gets stuck. Unfazed, Chip grabs a pole to push it back into the water. Chip lets White drive freely and involves him in all family activities, from hunting to gathering. It's natural even now. At 6 years old, when the fishing boat gets stuck, White grabs a shovel and helps Chip fill the mud alongside him. Happiness is built on responsibility, Chip tells White. After pushing the boat back into the water, they secure the motorcycle and prepare to upstream by boat. What do you call these bright orange berries? In Alaska, they're raspberries. The 3 women of the Hailstone family are busy picking this free fruit. Chip has taken the 2 children upstream to collect firewood. They'll be back soon. Time is tight for picking these orange berries, and they must watch for grizzly bears. They come here every year at this time. A small basin holds about 5 pounds. When poured into a large bucket, it amounts to nearly 30 pounds. Each year, they gather around 200-300 pounds to suffice. They treat this work as recreation. There's a light breeze, few mosquitoes, and overall, it's comfortable. It's already August, just 1 month until winter. Last month's rains gave the berries plenty of water, and now the sun ensures they're juicy and plump. Ding wears a special mosquito-resistant outfit to protect herself from bites. The youngest, Coco, joins them after a long absence. They've gathered enough food, a full bucket of berries worth at least $500 if sold. Next, they'll pick more: blueberries, cranberries, blackberries, and raspberries, as Agnes counts on her fingers. Upstream, Chip and his grandson find logs piled along the bank. They look promising. Chip maneuvers the boat ashore to collect firewood, then returns to cut the logs with a chainsaw, crafting practical tools. Soon, a ladder is ready. By the time Agnes returns with the berries, a feast awaits their reward for a day's work. A boatload of berries docks to meet fresh fish. Midsummer will end soon. Autumn will turn the grass yellow, followed by polar night, but at least they've secured enough food to worry less. Time to enjoy life. With that, Chip lights fireworks to celebrate everyone's hard work this summer. In Bruscana, Alaska, Hunter Jesse starts his day before dawn, walking his dog. When he returns, he's installing a wind turbine to power his camp, reducing reliance on gas. After his routine patrol, the sky brightens, and Jesse begins driving stakes for the turbine site. The first step, securing anchor points by digging deep holes. Living in Alaska, Jesse knows the wind here is strong finally. He can harness it for power. He's thrilled. His generator consumes hundreds of gallons of fuel yearly, and this windmill will cut that down. Transporting fuel here is tough, but Jesse still uses hundreds of gallons annually. With 4 anchors set, he'll place the rigging, install the base, and connect the wiring, a daunting task for a non-professional like Jesse. He relies on book knowledge and intuition. Electricity feels dangerous to him, but the thought of free power excites him. He connects 100 feet of cable, with 20 feet left to raise. Using a knife, he cuts and tightly binds the wires. Jesse dreams of a self-sufficient estate, and wind power is a crucial step. If successful, it's a sound investment and a major leap forward. With 4 lines tied to anchors, 2 helpers would make this easier, but Jesse is used to working alone. Once everything is secure, he'll assemble the turbine, the most expensive part of the project. The strong wind means he must erect it quickly. This device cost him dearly, and he can't afford any damage. After triple checking, he takes a deep breath and hoists the equipment. The higher he goes, the harder it gets. Jesse strains, his face reddening, until he finally lifts the pole into place. He secures the remaining anchors and adjusts them. The toughest part is done. Now, he'll see if it works, though a storm may be coming. Jesse senses the pressure changing. Once he plugs in the cable, the batteries will convert wind energy into electricity. Day 2 in Briscana. Jesse cheers as he watches the spinning propeller. Now he has his wind turbine. He enters the power storage room, presses the switch, and sees the voltage light up. With 4 batteries ready for the polar nights ahead, he moves a stool outside at dusk, basking in the free electricity's glow on his porch, reminiscing about the past years. In Hoona, Alaska, Hunter Ricko speeds down the river in his fishing boat with his children, Scarlett and Keenan. Today, they'll hunt ducks and check for moose to winterize. Autumn's meltwater has raised levels, letting Ricko explore new shallow areas. Moose antler scrapes on trees hint at nearby moose and possibly grizzly bears. For safety, Ricko steers to an open shoreline with long riverbanks. On land, they find reindeer moss, moose tracks, and vibrant cranberries. Ricko thinks of spruce grouse. These tart berries were once a staple for indigenous hunters. The trio forages onward. Scarlett, now a skilled hunter, enjoys this life, which pleases Ricko. Deeper in the woods, fresh bear claw marks appear. Scarlett takes the wheel, but ducks are elusive. Suddenly, a flock appears. Ricko cuts the engine, and Scarlett lands a plump duck with a shotgun blast. That's enough. Ricko fires up a campfire, carves the roasted duck for his kids, and smiles. His goal is to raise them in this way, and today's success warms him. On the Yukon River's banks, Andy's solar-powered trimaran docks, built last summer, it's now fitted with solar panels and weatherproof covers. Today's mission, hunt black bears, his primary food source now that salmon fishing is restricted. With Dennis scanning the shore, Andy spots a malnourished bear on a sandbar. But unfavorable winds delay their approach. By the time they land, the bear vanishes, leaving only footprints. The next day, they follow fresh tracks and bear scat, filled with undigested berries. Andy tests his sled dog with the scent, but no luck. Later, a majestic bull moose appears unhuntable without a permit, so Andy focuses on gathering cranberries with Dennis. Back on the boat, Dennis prepares a berry dinner salad. Andy stays optimistic. Another chance will come. In Prince Sound, divorced fisherman Coster takes his 3 daughters camping for their annual autumn tradition. After setting up tents in a berry-rich, predator-free zone, they rainproof their shelter. Post-storm, they wade into streams, Coster fishing with his youngest, while the older girls catch shrimp and pick blueberries. Coster grills pancakes with their haul, cherishing these fleeting moments with his growing children. The next day, Coster sails out to sea, where whales breach under endless Alaskan skies. The girls still had a slight worry about hooking a whale. Coster continued sailing forward, using longline fishing. Soon, they had their first catch, a seafish scooped onto the boat, weighing about 10 pounds. Coster gutted the fish, and one after another, more fish were hauled up. In less than half an hour, the boat was piled high with their haul. Coster pulled on his longest line, reeling in another catch. But it wasn't over yet. Coster's line snagged a particularly big fish, a grouper weighing over 30 pounds, thudding onto the deck. With this, Coster's total catch reached around 90 pounds. Living off the sea, he thought, with no shortage of food. They all high-fived, celebrating a day well spent. Now, it was time to head home and cook up a feast. In Hoona, Alaska, Hunter Ricko and his son Skeller ventured into the woods with rifles, light autumn rain falling. Ricko's uncle had shot a moose upstream on the Hoona River the night before and asked for help transporting the meat. The Athabascan people were always happy to be needed. The moose had already been dismembered. Ricko just needed to bag the meat and load it onto the boat. After finishing this task, Ricko set out to hunt himself. One bag contained a moose thigh, nearly 100 pounds. Ricko hoisted it onto his shoulder and passed it to his son, Skeller. After struggling, Skeller could only manage a lighter bag of dried meat. The duo trekked through the woods to a lush marsh, clearly a moose habitat. After 500 meters of muddy terrain, equivalent to carrying 2 50-pound bags of rice, they reached the boat. It would take 6 or 7 trips to move all the meat. Ricko's arms trembled under the weight. Hunting a moose might take just one bullet, but bringing it back required far more effort. Skeller understood the value of community help as they worked. Once all the meat was loaded, Ricko stood there, hoping they'd be luckier tomorrow. The next day, Ricko sailed to another lake, a moose habitat. Summer rains had kept water levels high, flooding most grasslands and making moose harder to find. After checking 4 or 5 spots all flooded, they turned back, having covered 80 kilometers of waterway. The last hope was a large lake. Ricko scanned the bushes with binoculars but found nothing. Disappointed, he returned to the boat, hoping for better luck tomorrow. On the third morning, Ricko and Skeller found fresh moose tracks near a quiet lake shore. Soon, a moose appeared. Ricko urged Skeller to aim, but Skeller missed twice. Frustrated, Ricko gave him a more powerful bear hunting rifle. 3 shots later, the moose vanished. Ricko plunged into icy water to search the opposite bank, but found nothing. To comfort his son, he joked, "You'll get your moose someday, but today, wash my underwear." On the Yukon River, Hunter Andy's solar-powered boat neared the mouth. Avoiding shallow rocks, he paused to set nets for non-salmon fish. Salmon fishing was restricted. After struggling against currents, they caught 2 whitefish for dinner. That night, a black bear appeared on the shore. Andy shot it cleanly, but hauling the 300-pound bear onto his canoe was tough. After gutting it, he covered the carcass with oilcloth and dragged it aboard. As they walked along the shore, Andy knew winter would be easier now.